Not many can say they have had the honour of wearing the famous claret and blue, but I hope the fans know I feel truly blessed for the opportunity. The words of a Premier League player in a 2,800-word farewell letter to West Ham supporters and the club, written by midfielder Jack Collison at the end of the season. He wrote it after being told his contract wasn't being renewed after 9 years, 121 games and 14 goals.
Collison, that's a blinding save, and Collison nods into the empty net, and West Ham have the lead in the 8th minute. Collison on hand, the Welsh international, to nod into the empty net.
Comes out for Collison, who chests down and shoots in. It's in. Collison scored again. West Ham have a 2-0 lead.
In the letter, he talks about scoring his very first goal. I had made history. I had scored in the Premier League, not just for anyone, but wearing the famous claret and blue. It was at this point I felt the start of my special relationship with the fans, one that has helped me through tough times and also many shared great times. Premier League players are regularly accused, as you know, in fact accused by you sometimes of being overpaid, fickle, not particularly loyal to their club. So to hear the love, and it is love, expressed by a departing player for his club and the supporters is a pretty rare thing, which is why we're talking to former West Ham and Wales international Jack Collison this morning. Hello to you, good morning.
Hiya, thanks for having me on.
No problem, and we did ask if you would read out some of your letter, but you were a little bit embarrassed, weren't you? But why?
Yeah, I don't know, it's just one of them things I wrote at the time, and obviously to read it out, it's more there for other people rather than me.
But it's gorgeous.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of thought and a lot of effort went into it, so hopefully it was appreciated. But no, it was a good way to get closure on a long time at West Ham for me, and as you said, it was a nice way to say goodbye, I think.
Were you hurt? Were you upset then?
It was a bit of a weird time, really. Obviously, I'd been expecting it a little bit because I hadn't really featured much over the past 2 seasons, been in and out of the team a bit, and obviously sent on loan. But I suppose when it comes, it's a bit of a different feeling. And at the time, the website man asked if I wanted to say goodbye, and I sat there with my iPad. Next thing is 2 o'clock in the morning. I got this massive letter in front of me, and I didn't really know what to do with it. So obviously I passed it on and said if you want to edit it, cut it, do what you want, because obviously it might be a bit big. And in the end, he just used the whole thing, and yeah, had a lot of positive feedback. And as I said, for me, it's just a nice way to say goodbye and to show what obviously my time at West Ham meant to me.
So what time was it when you started writing this letter on your iPad then? Just come a little bit closer to the microphone, Jack. What time of the evening was it?
Probably about 10 o'clock. I just got in bed and was just chilling out for the day, and I thought, right, I'm going to have a go, and yeah, started writing, and as I said, next thing it was probably 2 in the morning. I just finished, and I thought, God, that's a lot of writing. But as I said, for me, it was a good way to say goodbye and a good way to close a book on what had been a fantastic time for me at West Ham.
You talk about the West Ham family. It's not often that you hear players talk about a club in those terms. You do sometimes, but it's just not very often, is it? What did it mean to you? Yeah,
obviously, as soon as I left school, I obviously joined West Ham at the age of 16, and as you can imagine, it's a bit of a tricky time in any young person's life. So just the way they looked after me, and obviously seeing how much the club means to people out and about the streets, the people who've worked there for 40, 50 years, and obviously for me, I felt part of it straight away. So I just really enjoyed my time there, and at the end of it, as I said, it was a little bit of a shock, but obviously it was a good way to say goodbye, and yeah, it just was what it was.
I live with West Ham supporters, and they thought you were a West Ham supporter. They think you are a West Ham supporter.
Yeah, no, I get a little bit of stick for this. It's my dad's fault. Obviously, my whole family are Chelsea, so I was brought up going to see Chelsea, and then as I got a bit older, Cambridge. But I suppose from the age of 16, it's always been West Ham.
In this letter, you talk about a game against Millwall in the 3rd round of the FA Cup, and we found the commentary of the game from our colleagues at BBC London. Let's have a listen.
Jack Collison, well, it's an incredible absolutely brave thing that he's doing, playing in midfield for West Ham United tonight with Scott Parker, Radoslav Kovac and Junior Stanislas, his father Ian Collison, tragically killed in a motorcycling accident at the weekend, on his way here to see his boy play football. And what could have made a dad more proud than see his boy play professional football? And what a desperately sad time for the Collison family. Our thoughts are with them. And with the throw, looking for Alexander. Here's a chance for Harris! Well, Millwall take the lead in the London derby, and it would have to be the all-time record goal scorer, Neil Harris, with the strike. Here's Spector on the halfway line. It's met by Jack Collison. Collison sweeps it forward. An emotional night for him, of course. He finds now a run from Frank Nouble, who rolls it forward towards Hines, edge of the penalty area. Faubert for West Ham. Kitchen sink time for the Hammers. Swung in cross, far post. Stanislas scores for West Ham. He celebrates in front of the Millwall fans and then goes to the West Ham United fans. It's an equaliser with 4 minutes to go. Another idiot bursts onto the pitch. It's Stanislas against David Ford. There's West Ham players in the penalty area. He scores, and Stanislas has given the Hammers the lead. Jubilation from the home fans. Angles it towards Hines, who cuts in from the right-hand side. He's got Carlton Cole in support. Zavon Hines into the Millwall penalty area. Hines for 3! West Ham surely now will celebrate a spot in the third round of the Carling Cup. Jack Collison, what a difficult night it's been for him. Comes to applaud the fans who have been sensible and stayed on the pitch.
Well, in your letter you said of that particular night, I was carried that night by every single person inside that stadium. My legs were jelly, my head was all over the place, and the lights were brighter than ever before. I ran my socks off that night, so desperate to win, and when we went 1-0 down, it was disaster. It was not looking like a memorable way to give my dad a proper send-off. Then Stanislas scored and took it to extra time. That game should be remembered for one thing, the West Ham family uniting and all coming together for one of their own. The staff, the players, the fans carried me that night, and that will live with me for the rest of my life. I tried my hardest to thank everyone after the game when I walked around the pitch, and it was at that precise moment I was overcome with emotion and tears started to flow as reality once again set in. Football was my escape, and I wasn't playing for anyone. I was playing for West Ham. I was playing for every fan who carried my night, every fan who took the time to write to me. I was playing for the memory of my father, and after that night in particular, I always felt a special bond with the fans. To say that that night will live with you forever, clearly you mean that. What did you feel? What vibes did you pick up from the crowd that night?
Yeah, obviously it was a bit of a tricky one. I mean, you can imagine the trouble before the game, the people on the pitch. It got a lot of bad press that night, but obviously for me personally, it was probably the toughest game I've ever played in my life. And as I said there, the way the fans were towards me that night, the people working around the club is, as I said, something that will live with me forever. Mm. And obviously not a lot of people will probably realise that or appreciate that, and hopefully after sort of reading that they can see what it sort of meant to me.
Were you clear that you were going to play in that game after your father's death?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. He would have been there like shouting abuse from the stands, causing trouble. So obviously there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to play, and as I mentioned at the time, it was my escape. So it was nice to just get out there and obviously do what I love doing and playing football, and there's nothing bigger than a West Ham Millwall game, especially for the West Ham fans.
What if Millwall offered you a contract for the next season?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, wasn't it? No, obviously it'd be tricky because, as I said, the special relationship I have with the West Ham fans, it'd be very hard, and obviously I'm not too sure how well I'd go down with Millwall. But at the same time, it's important for me to get back playing football now. As I said, my time at West Ham's finished, and I just want to get back to doing what I love, playing football, enjoying it again, and enjoying being fit.
Have you, I mean, the people that are contacting us, the listeners who are contacting us, talk about some of your injuries. Are you properly fit now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being out of contract's a scary time for any footballer. So this summer I've used it to do a lot of strength work. I've worked very closely with a physio in London and used the time wisely rather than to go out and go crazy. So I've done a lot of strength, a lot of fitness work, and I'm ready and raring to go. And obviously I want to prove my fitness. There's no hiding the amount of injuries I've had. Obviously it's up to me now to get past that, prove that I'm fit, and obviously it's a nice fresh start for me, clean start, and hopefully I can do that from the start of the season.
It's interesting that you say it's scary. You're unemployed. You're out of work.
Yeah.
People perhaps think of it in different terms because they'll have been assuming that you've earned an absolute fortune from your Premier League career so far, and certainly will be much more than the average wage, I'm sure. But you are unemployed at the moment, and you are desperate to get a job.
Yeah, of course I am. It's the same for anyone. If everyone has their bills. I've got a little girl. I've got a family to take care of myself. So obviously it's important I get back into football financially, but as I said, at the end of the day, I just want to get back to doing what I love. I want to get back to kicking the ball about, going out there, playing in the big games, playing in front of the crowds, and that's why this summer I've been working my socks off, and hopefully sooner rather than later everything will be sorted and I'll be able to go out there and enjoy playing football again.
Have you had any offers?
Yes, there's bits and bobs. Obviously my agent's very busy at the moment, trying to find something that's obviously right for a club and obviously right for me as well, because wherever I go it's obviously important that I get my head down, start playing and putting in the performances.
Let's hear from Scott, Jeff and Sean. Gentlemen, hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Scott, what would you like to say to Jack Collison?
Well, really, just sad to see Jack go. It's quite a shame we never got to say goodbye to him. Some of the performances I've seen Jack put in over the years. Before his injury, he looked like he was going to be one of the best players coming through the ranks. And even after the injury, just to fight back from that, some of his performances were exceptional, especially sort of in the playoff semi-finals as well. And his year in the Championship with us, he was one of the catalysts for us getting back promotion back to the Premiership.
Oh no, thanks very much for that, Scott. No, I appreciate that. And yeah,
sorry, I just a question really is regarding West Ham more than anything. Is just, I'm seeing more young players are coming into the team now, and I'm worried that we're going to have less British-based players in the team, especially with yourself going as well. And I just can't see where youngsters are going to come into the team, Jack. It doesn't seem that Sam Allardyce likes that way.
Yeah, no, obviously it's a tricky one. I think it's not just at West Ham. You look at the whole Premier League, it's getting harder and harder for youngsters. And as you mentioned, especially the British players to come through now. But I think if a youngster does well enough in training, I don't think Sam would be scared to play him. I mean, if you look at Ravel Morrison, obviously he done very well.
He seems to be back in the fold now, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, he done very well in parts of last season. So hopefully this year's going to be a big year for him. And obviously it's nice for West Ham fans that he's young and obviously he's English.
Scott, thank you. Jeff, hello.
Hello there, yeah.
Hi, to talk to Jack.
Hello, Jack, yeah. I'd just like to thank you. I mean, you always gave 100% when you played on the pitch, and it was just a shame that your career was interrupted by those injuries. And also, and I'll reiterate what Scott said, the 2 goals you got in the playoff semi-finals, that was, I think, your best season that year. And I've been going to West Ham for 48 years now, and over those years, players who have come through the youth ranks, they've always had a great rapport with the supporters, because most of them are local lads, and they know what the club means to the fans, and that's why it's known as the Academy. And as Scott said, I just hope that a lot more of the youngsters that will come through and get a chance to play in the first team.
Go on.
Yeah, no, definitely. As you said, the rapport with the fans is always with the youngsters, and I think there is some very good young players there, and hopefully they'll get their chance this year. Elliot Lee's a fantastic striker, and I don't think he's too far off, and hopefully he'll be the next one coming through.
Sure. Jeff, many thanks. Sean, we'll be with you in just a moment. I'll tell you why we're pausing for a second. It's because Germany is due to bring the World Cup home today. There are thousands of fans already lining the streets of the capital. They will have a long wait to see them, though, because the plane carrying the team home has been delayed by a couple of hours. Our Berlin reporter Stephen Evans is there. Hi, Steve.
Hello, amongst the crowd.
Go on.
Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, certainly. The team has landed. amazingly to me at least, there are probably more people here at the Brandenburg Gate than there were on Sunday night when they actually won the thing. It's a measure, the whole of Berlin is here. It's a working day, so you wonder how the famed German economy is going. But they are here, they're being wound up by singers, the sunshine is bright, the sky is clear. There was a fly past earlier when the team flew over the Brandenburg Gate and everybody looked up and cheered. They're now in a bus between here and the airport on the outskirts. They're probably, I would have thought, about 20 minutes, half an hour away. But who knows with the traffic that they generate themselves.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you much more from Steve Evans throughout the day here on 5 Live. I'm assuming, Jack, that you watched lots of games in the World Cup, but there are plenty of players who actually don't particularly like watching football. I'm guessing you're not one of those.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed the World Cup this year. I think it's been fantastic. Some great goals, some great games, and at the end of the day, I think the best team won. What they'd done in the semi-final to Brazil was just unbelievable, wasn't it?
It really was. How important is it for you playing for your country?
Yeah, no, obviously I love playing for Wales. It's a great opportunity and a good chance to test yourself against some of the best players in the world. Unfortunately, once again I've had my fair share of injuries, so missed a fair few games, but obviously if I can get back playing regular now and hopefully force my way back into the Wales fold, and I think it's very exciting times ahead. You look at the likes of Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale. Obviously they were fantastic last year, and hopefully that will continue and some of the younger players will keep progressing as well.
Let's hear from Sean, and then I'll read some messages for you as well from people who are listening around the country. Hi Sean, talk to Jack.
Hi Jack. Let me start by, on behalf of all West Ham fans, say what a fantastic loyal servant you were to the club. You're the main reason we're up back in the Premier League. And I think, you're a West Ham hero, and that was even seen even more when you wrote that letter of, 2,800 words. I guess I want to ask the reasons why you left, possibly. Obviously, you joined the academy in 2005, and we had big hopes. We haven't had a good crop of people coming through, apart from Mark Noble and James Tompkins. But you had that game against Wigan away in 2009 where you dislocated your kneecap. And some people have said you've never been the same player since. And I think Sam did an interview saying your injury was close to what happened to Ledley King, which he retired from football. I know you've never given up. But my first question is that true? What's your take on this knee injury that hasn't gone away? I mean, it's been reported you do special training just to be able to manage it. Yeah, no,
obviously it's tricky coming back after such a big injury. But I'd like to think I'm sort of over the worst of it now. I was available for pretty much every single game last year, just wasn't selected in certain ones. And yeah, obviously it's something I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my career. So I do have to do specialist training, which is more strength work, more stuff to try and support the knees, obviously. But it's not just me. I think if you go to any football club now, there's normally at least 5 or 6 who are sort of on their own sort of programs, doing the extra work in the afternoons, maybe have the odd extra day rest. And I think that's more common, because if you look at the demands of the game nowadays, it's going to be coming up a lot, especially in the older players.
Have you spoken to Ledley King, and because it's a similar type of injury?
Yeah, no, I haven't actually spoken to Ledley. I've spoke to various other players about this sort of injury, and as you can imagine, I've been trying to seek the best help possible to give myself every chance to continue for as long as possible. But I must say, at the moment, obviously I've used the summer as best I can. I've had 8 weeks of solid training to obviously strengthen my legs and get myself in the best shape possible. And it's possibly the best I've felt going into a pre-season for probably 5 or 6 years. So hopefully that's a good thing, and I can just get back to playing now.
Sure.
One last question from me.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And that is, first, Jack, please never go to Millwall. Tony Cottee tried it and he's never gotten over it, so don't go to Millwall. I'm sure we can find you a club.
Thank
Carlton
you.
Cole was released and then got back to the club, obviously was offered another contract, still at the club now. So my question to you is, would you come back if asked? If suddenly they said to you, we pay you on a pay-as-you-play deal. Is that something you would still come back to the club if they asked you?
You never know, do you? Obviously, I think everyone knows what West Ham meant to me, and obviously it was a fantastic time. But if you look at the signings, I think they're moving in another direction now and really looking to push forward, obviously going into the Olympic Stadium. So I can't see it happening, but you never know.
Sean,
well, good luck for the future.
Thanks ever so much. Thank you very much, Sean. Let me bring you this news. It's Cabinet news. Esther McVey, we're told, will continue as Minister for Employment and Disabilities, but will now attend Cabinet. That's according to David Cameron as the reshuffle continues. Jack, I don't know how interested you are in this political news, but a lot of women being promoted to the Cabinet. Can you imagine ever working for a female football manager in the future?
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time.
Do you?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Obviously, you can imagine the first couple are going to be tricky, but I suppose it'll probably be common after a while. If you look at behind the scenes, there's obviously a lot more women sort of working in and around football now. Obviously, Karen Brady's working high up at West Ham, but obviously the therapists, the physios, there's a lot of females in the game now. What
would you feel about the prospect of having a female manager?
Yeah, obviously it'd be interesting. I think she'd have to be a very strong character to be in a football environment and obviously to lead a team of men. But as I said, I think it's only a matter of time, and it wouldn't be against it.
No. A matter of time, what do you reckon? 5 years, 10 years? In your lifetime as a professional, what do you think?
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to go on till I'm an old man. So yeah, it'd be nice, obviously, if it's in my lifetime. But as I said, we'll see. There's a lot of interesting things happening in football now, and yeah, you never know.
Right, let me read you some messages. Melindy on Twitter says, I have no interest in football, but what a thoughtful, eloquent, considered man. A pleasure to listen to. Reese says, tell Jack to wrap himself in cotton wool and get ready for the Euro qualifiers. Kelly Wells says, an emotionally mature footballer. Who'd have thunk it? Tim says, a super chap and tragic that his injuries have slowed his progress. I wish him all the best. Richmond Crowhurst says, wish him all the best for the future. He will forever be a part of the West Ham United family for that Millwall game, if nothing else. And some text messages here. Oh, an email. Let me read this email as well from Daniel. Hi, Victoria. Knowing you're speaking to Jack Collison, I had to write, West Ham is in my blood. And Jack's beautiful letter summed up what it is to be connected with our great club. Love you always, Jack. By the way, if Jack's career had not been threatened by injury, he would have been a West Ham great. However, his actions off the field have also made him one regardless. Plus, the way he has dealt with personal tragedy characterised the greatness of the man. Take care, Jack. You will always be a hammer. A couple of very quick questions from my sons who support West Ham. My 7-year-old wants to know, what does it feel like to play in the number 10 shirt at West Ham?
Yeah, no, obviously it was fantastic. Yeah, a little bit of pressure. Unfortunately, I didn't score as many goals as I would have liked, but no, it was a great honour, and hopefully, I think Zarati's got it now, so hopefully I'll score a couple on it and continue to do well.
And my 10-year-old wanted to say, first of all, thank you, because he's got very good manners and we've brought him up well. And secondly, he wanted to know, what's it like to be really liked by the fans?
No, obviously it's nice. I think if you go out there and just try your best, I think they appreciate that, and that's what they ask for at the end of the day. And as much as I could, I always tried my hardest. Sometimes I played pretty badly or done some bad things, but obviously if you try hard, work hard, I think they appreciate it.
Another question here. Wherever you go next, will you celebrate if you score against West Ham?
Obviously, that's a tricky one.
Or will you do one of those, look, I'm not celebrating, which can also irritate people as well?
Yeah, no, I think we'll have to see how it goes. Obviously, it'd be nice to just get back playing and scoring goals again.
Let's talk about, for a moment before you go, about discipline. Whenever we talk about football, Premier League football in particular, whenever we talk to a player, which is actually pretty rare because most of you are so inaccessible. You know, I take my kids to cricket and they can talk to an England player at a county cricket match, whereas footballers are much more inaccessible. But I will get messages from listeners saying, you know, in rugby nobody abuses the referee, and that's because it's true.
Yeah, of course.
You know, broadly speaking, it's true. There isn't that kind of abuse to referees. What is it that's different about footballers that means they do?
It's a hard one to put your finger on, really. I just suppose knowing what's at stake, the emotions in the game, it's just so hard to stop yourself sometimes.
But that makes it sound like there is nothing at stake in a top international rugby game.
Yeah, that's very true. I suppose it starts from the grassroots. Obviously, at a young age, the rugby players are brought up in that environment, whereas in football, maybe it needs to start at the youngsters. And obviously, as professionals, we can obviously do a little bit more. But I would say it's definitely improved over the last few seasons.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No, thanks for having me on.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. It's really good to talk to you. Wish you all the best. And there's a lot of love for you out there from lots of different people, not just